When you have people scattered in different parts of the UP, when the UP200 is going on, communication with one another is important. Our very own John Truitt caught up with one ham radio volunteer on how crucial the role is when we normally have these races.
Much of Michigan's Upper Peninsula is rural, rugged, and remote. Outside of populated areas, communication is challenging. Cell service is spotty and unreliable, as is commercial radio and satellite communications. So how does an event like the UP200 maintain contact with all its participants who are literally competing in the middle of nowhere? The answer is amateur or ham radio. Amateur radio operator Al Augustin provides amateur radio communications between race officials, emergency personnel, road crossings, and the mushers themselves, using his ham radio equipment, and all of it done on a volunteer basis.
In the Upper Peninsula, commercial business radios and also really cell phones, of course, there's many places that they just aren't operational. What we're doing is we're helping to ensure the safety of the mushers and the dogs, and of course where they cross public roadways. That's the primary function. The secondary function, especially of the amateur radio community, is to basically provide safety communication as to where they're at and how they're doing.
The UP200 traverses some of the most isolated terrain in the country in conditions that are often less than ideal. Severe cold, snowstorms, high winds, and the dark of night present all manner of challenges, from logistics and dog sled tracking to responding to emergencies along the route, where communications are critical.
I can tell you the 3 posts that I work at on a regular basis during the UP200 cannot be covered by cell phone. And only amateur radio has been able to provide those communications. If a musher has an issue or the dogs have an issue, we can relay the information. They can bring in a vet either to that location that we're at, or typically at the next layover if the dogs can make it. But the safety of the dogs, as you can imagine, is very important.
There are over 750,000 amateur radio operators in the United States and over 3 million worldwide. The reason they are preferable to cell phones and other types of radio communication is because the ham radios are the most powerful and longest range radio service available to the general public. Amateur radio is used as a complement or backup to law enforcement and emergency response communications. During a natural disaster, when all other forms of communications are taken out, the ham radio operator is still on the air.
With our weather scenario, the hurricanes and the storms and the tornadoes that have happened in the southeastern states, amateur radio has become the only form of communications a lot of times after those events, because the cell towers and everything are taken out.
The network of amateur radio operators out on the course and back at race headquarters are on duty from start to finish. And in the event of any problems, they can respond immediately, as in this mishap from last year.
The weather changed radically, and there was very bad drifting, visibility was poor, and a musher had gone off course. Well, it wasn't long before we raised a flag, we being the radio amateur volunteers, that, hey, this sled is way overdue for the checkpoint. And that's when we started dispatching individuals and really, the emergency officials to start looking for that musher.
Although Al's volunteer role is a very serious and critical one, it's still a lot of fun.
So there's a fun aspect to the hobby, and a lot of us enjoy being out there as well. Even though sometimes it can be a little harsh environmentally speaking, it's still a lot of fun for us to be out there and seeing the mushers and making sure they're safe.
Along the route of the UP200, John Truitt, Local 3 News.